traders, and welcome to this weekend analysis video. I hope you're all well and you've all had a good weekend and ready and raring to go for the week ahead. What we're going to do in this video, and the weekend video as always, we're going to go through all of the pairs, even the ones that aren't necessarily setting up immediately, just to get a bit of a broad picture as to what's going on as a whole. So we'll start off by taking a look at the Aussie CAD. Now the Aussie CAD, for me, there's really not a lot here that I want to trade. If you look at it on the 4-hour chart, you can argue that the moving averages are aligned and the trend is to the downside because we've broken a previous low just by very, very little bit there. But for me, this particular pair just represents a little bit too much risk. If we take a look at the momentum that came into the market on Friday there, you can see that there's been a lot of buying pressure, which could signal a little bit of at least a short-term momentum change, if not a long-term trend change. So from that perspective, I'm going to sit on my hands here and we'll kind of reevaluate this coming towards the middle of the week and see if anything has changed yet. But for the moment, there's nothing that I really want to do here. Moving on to the Aussie Franc eventually when it loads. So the Aussie Franc for me represents a relatively good trade here. As we can see, we've got some momentum in the markets. You can see the 15-minute chart is kind of trending to the downside, which is fantastic. The 1-hour chart as well. We've broken through a previous level of support. You can see this on the 4-hour chart here. So structural support, we've broken beneath there. Yes, we have the little level beneath here at the 0.7045. Which is a little bit of a risk, but having said that, I really do like the look of this setup. So if the market here, if you look at this on the 15-minute chart, can consolidate along this level a little bit more and then break down, this is an opportunity I'm certainly going to be taking advantage of. I'll be getting in on the break of the 7066, so the 0.7066 level, with my stop above the highs at the 0.7110, and we'll just kind of wait to see how that plays out. But for the moment, that's looking pretty good, and if we get this set up, then we'll be all over it. The Aussie Yen is very untidy, as you can see here, so there's not really a lot that we want to get involved with. On the 1-hour chart, it's just, well, it's doing nothing. On the 4-hour chart, it does look like it's weighted to the upside, so I would really like to see the market break to the upside and then potentially look at getting involved in some trades. But for the moment, there's nothing there, so we need to be patient and sit on our hands and kind of do nothing. The same goes for the Aussie New Zealand. So again, you can see the Aussie New Zealand here. It's kind of weighted to the downside, but if we look at the true price action, so looking at from the 15th of February, it's really just sort of been moving sideways. So it's a good two-ish weeks that it's been moving sideways and not doing a lot at all. While we can see a little bit of a trend and some tradable price action, let's say on the 15-minute chart, it isn't supported by our longer-term view at the moment. So from that perspective, we really need to just kind of do nothing with it and see what will take place later on in the week. I like the look of what's going on with the Australian dollar at the moment. So the Australian dollar, if we look at this from the 4-hour chart perspective, we can see that the market is breaking down. We've broken beneath this trend line over here, which is really nice to see. The 1-hour chart obviously is supporting that. And then what I'll be looking for from the 15-minute chart is some sort of a consolidation beneath this level. All right, so beneath the trend line here, maybe the market can pull back to the trend line before going short, or maybe it just kind of moves sideways and creates sort of like a flag pattern down here and then go short. Either one of those would be fine for me. I like the look of shorting this particular pair. Sorry, frog in my throat. This particular pair. We just need to wait for the right price action there, the right setup. We can't go chasing these trades. Ultimately, when you do that, you will come unstuck and you will end up losing money. From a candle perspective, one thing I want to draw your attention to, which is really quite nice, is look at this momentum candle here before the close of the market on Friday. What we're seeing here is that there was buying pressure pushing it all the way up to around the 0.7122, and then the sellers came in and sold it all the way from, and remember this was very bullish at one point, so they sold it from the 0.7122 all the way down to the 0.7077 level. So you got sort of like a 40-ish pip move towards the end of the day on a Friday, which really kind of shows the sentiment towards the pair. So from that perspective, it is looking good, and it is certainly something that we will be looking to take advantage of if we get that set up come tomorrow morning, Monday morning. The Cad Franc is showing a lot of momentum here. I really like the look of this chart. I want to be short this all day long. The kind of the pullback that I want is I would like to see the 15-minute chart sort of pull back a little bit like that into the moving averages. Give us a bit of price acceptance before selling off down there. I want price action similar to, let me just see, was it the Cad Franc? No, it wasn't this one. Which one was it last week? We had a very, very similar trade. Okay, so similar to the Cad Yen trade, but a bit of an inverse. All right, so we had the Cad Yen trade last week, which we were looking at the breakup of this trend line here. You see the way that the market had momentum and it pulled back towards the moving averages and then shot up again. Well, that's exactly what I'm looking for now from a Cad Yen perspective. I'm looking for a bit of a pullback into these moving averages followed by a sell-off, and I think that's going to represent a very, very high probability trade there. Ultimately, I believe this market will go shorter. We just need to make sure that our timing is correct and we don't strangle our trade. So we give it enough of a stop loss to make sure that if the market were to sneeze very slightly, it doesn't take us out of our position. So that's what I'm looking for here. The setup isn't there yet, so I can't give you the levels as such. All I can tell you is that I'm very, very interested in it. The Cad Yen, as we can see here, we've had momentum to the upside. The market broke up. It then since broke down with a lot of momentum. Look at what happened here. So from Friday's trading, from 1 o'clock, the market sold off very, very significantly. It then broke back below. And this is very important, okay, because this represents a failed break. When you get the market break for a resistance level, typically you don't want it to break back with so much aggression, because that kind of tells you that ultimately that this level has failed, okay? So what I'm going to be looking for here, what would be really, really nice, would be some sort of a pullback to that break level, to that failure level, and then a sell-off like that, okay? Something like this going into tomorrow's trading would represent an excellent opportunity considering the previous momentum that we had in the charts here. So you see the way that the market sold this all the way down. That, you know, those sellers are not just going to give up when the market pulls back a little bit. They'll see that as value for money. They'll see that as a better price to get in than where they got out of, which is towards the lows here, and they'll sell it back down. So looking like a very, very good and positive opportunity there. The Franc Yen has been trending up for quite some time now. We can see here from the 4-hour chart, it is really sort of trading towards a highest. Now, I'm not saying that it can't go any further. Of course, it can go further, and it may well do that, but not without some sort of a pullback. Now, ordinarily, we might say, well, let's wait for the pullback on the 15-minute chart, which, you know, you could do now, but you need to accept that if you're taking the pullback now here, it's with a little bit of added risk. Or we could wait for the 1-hour chart to pull back a little bit, and then look to get involved once the 1-hour chart has had its pullback. And that, for me, represents the better opportunity here. So I'm going to wait for the 1-hour chart to pull back somewhat, to have a bit of consolidation, which ultimately means I potentially won't be getting my trade tomorrow. It might be Tuesday or Wednesday before this sets up. And, you know, could I miss an upwards move? Absolutely. But do I want to be profitable in the long run? Absolutely. So what you need to do is make sure that you're patient and you wait for the right opportunities. And if you wait for the right opportunities, then you will make money. Looking at the Euro Aussie. So the Euro Aussie is broken out above a very, very strong structural high over here. You can see that the market really was paying attention to this high that we can see here, and it has since broken out above that. It's now breaking back down, okay? So from the time that it broke out above the level, it held there for a few hours, and it's broken back down. So this is going to be very, very interesting going into next week as to how it's going to react here. You know, over the Asian session tonight, will the market break back up above, hold above this level, in which case that would be fantastic, because then I would be looking for some sort of a buy above this level here at the 1.6071. That will be a buy all day long. By the same token, if the market breaks down here with quite some momentum, you know, there's no reason we can't trade some sort of a pullback to that momentum and then a sell-off, because ultimately This over here is a very, very big price action setup for me. A failure to break and hold above a level is a very, very strong indication that the market wants to go in the opposite direction. And if it wants to go in the opposite direction, who are we to stand in the way of that trade? We just need to get involved in it as and when we can. Moving on to the Euro Cad. So the Euro Cad is certainly showing a lot of momentum to the upside. I think here we could be looking at a fantastic trade on the 15-minute chart, so a shorter term trade. Little bit of a pullback here like that, okay? Trend line above the pullback. When the market breaks that trend line, like so, you look for the most recent previous high. So this guy over here, for example. And then you take your trade through that high. So it breaks through the trend line, through the high, and that then is ultimately the setup that you're looking for. So very, very effective price action setup, and it's one that I absolutely love to trade. Unfortunately, in this video so far, I haven't been able to give you specific levels because we are sort of trading towards the highs of all of these levels here, or trading to the extremes rather, which is fine. It's not a problem at all, but it is something obviously that means I can't give you, specific levels and setups and things like that. Euro pound, I love the look of this trade here. So the market on the 4-hour chart, you can see it broke beneath the 0.8615 level. You can all see that, right? The market then traded below that very nicely. It then started to pull back, and you can see on the 15-minute chart and also the 1-hour chart. Okay, we've got a nice trend line sort of encapsulating all of this price action. So what I want to do tomorrow, I won't put in the order overnight. It's in the Asian markets because it's the euro and the pound. And they don't really have any reason to be trading either of those currencies. So I'll wait for the European session tomorrow. And then I'll look to get in on a break of the trend line, respect for the previous level of support here, which becomes resistance. And then a break through the lows, probably somewhere around the 0.8573 level, with my stop above the 200 period moving average on the 1-hour chart there, just to kind of give us a little bit of room to breathe, just in case the market decides to get us in, then get us out for a little bit. Because ultimately, I think this goes lower. It's just going to be about timing the trade there, not getting involved too early or not getting shaken out of the trade. Euro Yen had that nice rally up last week on Friday, was it? Yeah, on Friday the market rallied up there, which is fantastic. Now what we're going to be looking for is some sort of a pullback. I think we're going to want to see a little bit more of a pullback than we have here, because the market has gone a very, very long way in a relatively short space of time. Not a problem for us. We love this kind of momentum. It's certainly giving us an indication that the next momentum move is going to be to the upside as well. It's just going to be a problem in terms of timing. So we need to wait, really, I think, for the 1-hour chart to pull back a little bit more, okay, which may ultimately mean we're waiting until, late afternoon tomorrow, or even early-ish the following morning, Tuesday morning, in order to get involved in this trade after some sort of a pullback, okay? And then we'll get the break to the upside. So I really like the opportunity in the Euro Yen here. We just need to wait for the right opportunity. Looking at the Euro New Zealand, that is like the rest of the Euro pairs, obviously trading towards the highs. The only thing this one has that the other ones doesn't is it is trading into a resistance level. Okay, so it's a downward sloping trend line, but resistance level or the same on the 4-hour chart here. So how do we play this? Well, I still think that ultimately, if we see the other Euro pairs start to rally, and then we see the markets break above this level here, so break above around the 0.6733, we have to be all over that. We need to be buying that market, because I think that, looking at the fact that we do have the resistance level here, the market has broken out above it. It sold back below very briefly, but now is out above it again. That's actually a strong indication that the bulls are in control of this chart, and they may well push it higher. So for this one, I can give you a level. I will be buying through the 1.6731 level. Stop is going to be below the 200 moving average on the 1-hour chart, which is around the 1.65889 area. Okay, so fairly chunky sort of stop loss, but I think that it is necessary to make sure we don't get shaken out of this trade. The euro dollar is looking really quite ugly at the moment. We were looking at the breakdown here. It hasn't quite happened. there's not a lot I want to trade with the euro dollar at the moment. So we'll just kind of wait and see there. The euro Aussie is obviously showing us a lot of momentum. We've broken out above the resistance level over here. Let's get rid of that. Get this in. So we've traded up against the resistance level there, and now we're trading up towards another resistance level and an ultimate high here just above this area. So this is very, very interesting. I'm not looking to take a long trade beneath this level, but if we can break up above the level and get some price action, so maybe over the Asian session tonight, the market, breaks up just a little bit, like so, gives us a bit of consolidation going into tomorrow morning, and then we get a break up later on. That is going to represent a fantastic opportunity to get long, because we would have broken up above a very, very strong level of resistance. Look at what happened last time it came here in October 2018. It traded up to that level and it sold all the way off back down. So if we do get above here, it represents a very, very good opportunity to get long in the markets. Of course, if it doesn't do that, okay, if it doesn't do that and it starts to trade beneath this previous level over here, okay, so this previous level of resistance, which it broke up above, if it trades below there, okay, holds below there like that, gives us a consolidation and then a sell-off, then I will equally be happy enough to sell this pair looking at the price action. So I think really some exciting opportunities in the pound Aussie going into tomorrow and Tuesday's trading. I can certainly see a trade there one way or another. The pound CAD is not looking as rosy, so from that perspective I'm really willing to just move on and leave that. The pound franc is looking good. So we've broken out above a previous level of resistance, as you can see here. The market has since given us a bit of consolidation and a bit of a pullback, so it's been respecting this trend line over here. And what we need to see come sort of like tomorrow, some sort of price action leading up to the trend line, and then a break above the trend line and a break above the resistance, wherever that may be. If we get that, then this could be a fantastic opportunity. It's got everything going for it. It's got a technical trend there. It's got momentum. It's got key levels, very, very strong key levels. It's got clean price action. It's got everything going for it. So if we can get that as some sort of a setup, that's what we need to be taking, and that's what we need to be pinning our colors to, so to speak. The pound yen, there's not a lot that ultimately I want to be long this, but going into tomorrow's trading, there's not a lot that I want to do with this. I think there are better opportunities that we've seen. The pound New Zealand is an interesting one. So we had the breakup we had a trend line in here. The market broke up and it's now broken back down. I think that we can safely say with all of the momentum here, and if the other pound pairs start to go, then a break above this sort of level at around the 1.9480 would represent a great opportunity to get long. Again, we've got momentum here. You can see that in the 4-hour chart. You can see that in the 1-hour chart. We've got some nice price action, a trend line break. It's got everything going for it. So we have to be involved if it does set up. The pound dollar is giving us a similar sort of setup, but it is a little trickier in that the price action is a bit more... what's the word for it? A bit more aggressive, so to speak. But if we can get some respect to this level over here, all right, at the 1.3204, if we can get some sort of a reaction to this level, which it looks like we're getting at the moment, all right, so something like this, and we get the 1, 2, 3 reversal, I think that would represent a fantastic opportunity to get long the pound going into tomorrow's market. You know, if we look at the pullback here, and this is very, very important, not on the 1-hour chart, you look at it on the 4-hour chart, you look at the momentum going back, look at the pullback, look at how many dojis and spinning tops and shooting stars we have here, all indecision candles, all candles telling you they don't really know what to do. And that's fantastic for us, because that tells us that during the pullback, you know, maybe the sellers tried to get involved, they haven't been able to push it all the way down, the buyers have obviously been taking profits, but there's not enough sort of sellers there to sell to, so to speak. So it really represents a good opportunity. The price action is telling a very, very decent story in terms of a rally and a move to the upside potentially. The New Zealand CAD is looking a little bit, let's just say, non-tradable. It's very, very ugly. You're not entirely sure which way the price action goes. The New Zealand franc, we had the breakdown last week, so we had the breakdown of the trend line. And this is a similar sort of setup that I'm trying to show you in the other pairs here. Nice little bit of a pullback towards a 100, 200 moving average. Get your trend line involved there. Have the sell through that trend line. Stop above the highs and follow it on. Okay. Now this one here I think is going to continue and break beneath the lows and potentially go towards the 0.6770 area. But if you're not already in this trade, it's already gone. It's too late. There's not a lot you can do about it, I'm afraid. New Zealand yen, there's not a lot here that I want to trade at the moment. We had the reaction to this high there, so there's no trades right now. New Zealand dollar, potentially we could be looking at some short trades. It really depends how the market reacts to the support level that it's at the moment. If we get some meandering, if we get a bit of a bounce here, then there are no trades. If we get a continued momentum move tomorrow, followed by a bit of a pullback to that area, then that could represent a good opportunity to get short. But we will have to wait and see. The dollar CAD is trading towards the highs, which is very, very nice. The sort of trade we're going to be looking for here is the pullback. So we'll be looking for the market to pull back like this into the moving averages, right, which gives us the average of the average price for the however many period the moving average is set at. We can get a bit of a pullback into this area, which I like to term as being the value area, the area where you're going to make money ultimately. Get a pullback into that area, get the buy above, obviously find some sort of a support or resistance level to buy through as well, resistance level to buy through rather, and then take the trade when you get the opportunity. It's not there yet, but certainly looks like something that could set up going into tomorrow. Dollar franc is looking ugly. I need momentum here before I call any sort of a trade. And the dollar yen is certainly showing us that it's got some rallying potential here. You look at it on the 4-hour chart, rallying at the highs, 1-hour chart, rallying at the highs, 15-minute chart kind of looks like it's consolidating a little bit, but not really. What we're going to be looking for is some sort of a pullback either on the 15-minute charts or on the 1-hour chart. We don't need a very, very deep pullback towards these highs at the 111.22. Just a little bit of a shallow pullback into the moving averages, followed by a breakup, will be more than enough to allow us to get involved in the trade and make money in the trade. Okay, so apologies that there weren't many specific levels I can give you here, but there are some very, very exciting charts that you want to be paying attention to nonetheless. Okay, thank you so much for watching this, and I'll catch you in the next Inner Circle analysis video. Take care now.